Hi there, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Savante Myrick, incoming president of People for the American Way. And today we are having a conversation I'm very excited about with April Ryan, who is an incredible veteran White House reporter and the author of the new book, Black Women Will Save the World, which is a great subtitle in Anthem. And an even better, I should say, an even better cover art, which I do want to ask you about, April, in a little bit, because hopefully joining us today amongst thousands, tens of thousands of people who are participating in People for the American Ways book club. Hopefully, there are also the two young Black women who saw me holding this book in a diner on the Upper West Side of Manhattan on Friday and said, "What is that art? Could we take a closer look?" And I said, "You can, but only if you promise to join us on Monday for the book club." So hopefully the two of them are here as well. So I'm thrilled to have April with us here today because her book touches on so many themes that are part of our mission here at People for the American Way. She is such a star, such a unique voice. And for years, I think some of you know, she was the only Black woman reporter in the White House press corps whose reporting focused on race and the lives of Black Americans. Because of that, she's been in that briefing room asking tough questions, speaking truth to power in a way that most of us can only ever imagine. And of course, she's taken heat from it, particularly from that previous administration. So we want to show her the love that she so deserves for her bravery, her perseverance, and for this book, which was a great read and should give us all hope. So before I dive into the question, I do just want to introduce with us Raquel Jones, who is our Director of Leadership Programs at People for the American Way. Raquel, would you like to
Yeah,
introduce?
thanks. Thanks, Savante. As Savante mentioned, I'm Raquel Jones, Director of Leadership Programs here at People For. I am so excited, really fangirling over here to be in conversation with you today, April. And it's just so well timed. One of our co founders at People For was a trailblazing Black woman, the late Congresswoman Barbara Jordan. And we are truly grateful to her every day. Earlier this month, we hosted the kickoff of our Barbara Jordan and Dolores, the first of our Barbara Jordan and Dolores Hortis Women's Leadership Program, which really aims to coach, develop, and support a cohort of progressive elected women from all over the country that are really working to make our democracy work for all of us. So, being in community with those women earlier this month really brought the lessons of your book into sharp focus for me. And so, again, I'm just thrilled to be having this conversation with you. So, welcome, April, and thank you for your work, for your bravery and perseverance. And echoing Savante, the artwork is beautiful. I have like marked this book all the way up. So, to those of you watching, if you haven't picked up your copy, you can get it at any busboy and poets in the DC area. And if you're not in the DC area, you can check online at bookshop.org, and we'll put that link on the screen below. So again, excuse my excitement, but truly excited to have this conversation with you. And I'll kick it back to you to get us going, Savante.
Okay. So we've got a couple questions, and then of course our audience here, if you'd like to have questions, you can put them in the chat. Just drop them below. We'll answer as many as we can. But Raquel and I are excited to be able to ask the first ones, which is so April, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you too for even, because of your job, you cover the White House, right? So we were supposed to start an hour ago, and we
Yeah.
still have hundreds of people, hundreds of folks who stuck in here with us live because they wanted to hear from you. And let me take
Yes.
it from the top. How'd you come to write this book? And could you tell us about the subtitle and Anthem? Because I think that says so much of what you seemingly set out to achieve with the way the book is structured and how you want your audience to experience it.
So first of all, I can't wait for having me. Thank you to Ben Jealous, who started in my book. It's wonderful cover art book to this moment. And let me, Samant and Raquel, thank you so much for your kind words. Raquel, I don't fangirl out. I'm fangirling out over people like you guys. Word. And it creates something for me to write about. And that's what's in here to change. People who are patriots, who want to change. You know, plain patriotism. If you notice the cover art as we talk about, Jeffrey, a young brother, he made the most wonderful cover art. When I saw it, I cried. Raquel, if you look, you see a Black woman's face, right? Black women are for America. I hate to say that, but we are gorgeous women. But we're vulnerable and we're considered tough. If you see how beautiful she is and the flowers on the side, we're giving her flowers while she can smell them. And she's got her eye moving towards the next level, raise up a community that's underserved. Then if you look, Black women will save the world in Anthem. What colors? Red, white, and blue. In Anthem, we say it over and over again. And what is the reason? Look, for people like you guys, for those unsung sheroes, those talk about every day, all of them make this movement that Trevor, you saw him the last night. He saluted Black women. I mean, over and over again. And we're hearing it. Okay, someone's saying we're hearing it over and over and over again. You heard Trevor Noah just the end of his show saluting Black women, because if we didn't do it, it wouldn't be. At the end of the day, okay, can you guys hear me? Okay, because I'm seeing something where it's saying you can't hear me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you better when you're closer to the. I'm noticing when you're closer.
Well, I'm going to get real close. I'm going to get real close.
Okay.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
You can hear me. I hope you can hear me. I know you see every pore in my face. 1900, and forgive me if the makeup isn't right. I've been working. Anyway, I'm in Pennsylvania Avenue, right across the street from the White House, and signals aren't the greatest, but we do our work. But again, like I say, I wrote this in Anthem to say over and over again for people like Raquel, Black women who do the work, do the heavy lifting to put us, to lift us up. And this book, this was in my heart a while ago. I had actually presented this book a couple of years prior. And we talked, but the problem is it just wasn't its time. When Kamala Harris became vice president, it was like, it's time. And then Kareem, we saw Susan, we saw Marsha Fudge, and then Ketanji Brown Jackson. It was time. I was still writing this book. I hadn't announced Ketanji Brown Jackson on that cold, icy day. And I turned, I've seen a lot of history. But I find quirky history, instead of being in Grant Park when Obama was elected president of the United States, the most magnificent moments I could ever witness. And I wrote about it in my other book, one of my 4 books. But the moment to watch, I was covering it, but not being there to watch where I could. And when you're in the room, you have to be very professional. I was home like many people in America, and I was screaming. Humanity came in. I saw a woman who looked like me talk. I was screaming. I was crying. I saw 2 black women flank Joe Biden, powerful in the executive branch and soon to possible branch. I couldn't hold it. I was able to jump around and be April, celebrating Black womanhood Black women, and it meant a lot. It just meant so much. And can you guys hear me well right now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I hope everybody else can. There's a slight lag, but I can still follow what you're saying.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
that's
just
why I wrote the book.
that's
Well,
terrific.
thank you. Yeah, and just to echo what you said, it truly was a validator for me as a young Black woman doing this work, but also as a HBCU grad, as a single mother. Like, I truly appreciate it, and I told you I marked all through it, but at the end I wrote validated, and so I truly appreciate you for writing this. I was really struck by how often you invoked the concept of collectivity in the book, and how you identify it as a distinguishing feature of Black women's leadership. The power of community is why the Young Elected Officials Network exists, and was definitely why we pushed to launch our women's leadership program. The cohort is 74% women of color, 62% of them being the youngest or the first to hold their seat, and all of them really feeling isolated as they lead. So, can you talk to us a little bit about the concept of collectivity and the power of sisterhood?
Of sisterhood, collectivity, it's everything. I write about it and one of the pieces, and now it has a new member. I talk about Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who told me, oh, sometimes my sister mayors and I get in trouble, or when we just need an uplift. That sisterhood was something that they lean on, by the name of Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles, right? And I'm going to call her the reason why she's priceless. You had someone who threw $100 million plus campaign and still lost. This one Black woman, singularly won to be one of the largest cities in the nation. He threw $100 million at her. Power of a Black woman. She won. So now that sisterhood time, when I talked to Lori Lightfoot, Keisha Lance Bottoms was mayor, Mayor Cantrell, Bowser, from different cities like New Orleans, DC, Atlanta, Chicago. Forgive me, but they would come together in a Black woman sisterhood, or to say, look, this is what I'm doing, to kind of figure out, the lay of the land, to work together. And they did it, again, in a way to uplift the community. I heard about that before. And there's sisterhood in pockets almost everywhere you go. Again, a new mayor in the sisterhood, Karen Bass. But it's here at the White House. People who look like us come together because we get the same thing we get. For instance, Mayor King, she said, April, she said when she was mayor, she said it's hard because you have people, especially in a major city or anywhere for that matter. Said, I was running one of the largest cities, because I'm seeing somebody say it's cutting in. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Keisha Lance Bottom said she ran one of the largest cities, and with Fortune 500 headquarter companies there, largest airport. She would have men come to her after meetings. Who told you that? As if to say she couldn't think. When there's a coming together, a commonality, you can kind of come together up, work together to change dynamic. That's what sisterhood is. It's about the people in your community, in your church, in your family. That when the world knocks us down, we come together. In a sisterhood, I'm going to give you another example of a sisterhood from history that a lot of, and you read this, the Black Panther Party was vilified and rated. Everything that they did was vilified. Sickle cell anemia research. They worked make sure our children ate breakfast. They made sure that our community would have health care. Well, guess what happened? Now it's funding a lot of these projects. How about that? But it's vilified, jailed, all sorts of things. They were, the FBI tracked them down, etc. But as we look at that group, the group was not, the group was Black women, 70% of the Black Panther Party. So that's a sisterhood there. Sisterhood comes in so many different forms, but that was a sister. And I'm trying to lift my volume. Volume is down, and I don't know how.
No, so I can hear you. I'm getting reports that it might be choppy in the chat. Okay. Could we try this? If you press the, bear with us, folks. If you try, there's a settings bar on the bottom.
I see it. Hold on. Audio. Okay, settings. Here we go. Okay.
And then if you turn off the noise suppression, because I think that might be what's doing it. I think
noise suppression is off already.
And the echo, what about the echo cancellation?
Let's try this. Can you hear me better now? Is it better now?
Actually much better now.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Oh, what is that? Oh, that's the back of the wall. Okay, watch you change. Lord have mercy. Hold on. That's the back of the wall.
That's funny.
Look, that's you're in my office. Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Around. Okay. Change avatar. No, not change avatar. Back camera. No. Let's go back to front. There we go. All right.
There it is.
How you doing?
And I can hear you much better. I
didn't
trust.
Everyone, yeah, thank you. Everyone, thank you. Yeah, this is it.
Nice. Very nice. Hopefully, let us know in the chat if this works for everybody else too.
Can you hear me, everyone? Chime in. Say, my mic sounds nice. Check 1.
Your mic sounds nice. Check 1, 2. What is this?
Okay, that's it. Salt and pepper kind of thing. So, yeah.
You caught me. So this is great. So let me ask then, so that I love that about sisterhood, and I know that our women's caucus is going to love hearing the same thing. Can I ask about your own personal career? Because walking through these halls, you write in the book, you used 3 words that jumped out. You said racism and sexism were both, they were casual, they were omnipresent, and they were destructive. Yeah. And then suddenly the Trump White House, it ramped up to a whole new level. So what did you see, and how did you cope with it? What advice would you give to people who have to cope with the same?
First of all, we shouldn't have to cope with it. What I went through was the most ugly portrayal of the interaction between an administration and press. I was in shock, and I walked through it. And how am I? I'm in therapy. Think about it. You have the most powerful person sending out his minions, saying words, and things happen. I mean, I happened in the book. That I pray never happens again for any reporter, particularly myself. And I detail it. You guys read it, and for all of you in the book club, it's come to my home. You know, I beat them to telling them about the Caesar Sayat bomb that came because they knew that he was either intending or he sent it. Came. And it was a fake bomb, thank God. But in my place of peace, I raised my children. I that hate from outside come in. That's right. Um, but the sisterhood again, these women, these Black women would say, I put my hand to the TV and prayed for you. When throughout what was happening, just walking through it, trying to keep a job, do care of my kids, make them feel like they were secure and happy and everything was safe, all the while wondering what was going on, talking to the FBI, sending emails or letters that I would get from people who because I asked questions that needed answers of an underserved community. I know, right? It's unbelievable.
Right. It was horrifying from the outside. So I can only imagine all that you went through. But we appreciate and commend your perseverance through it all.
Thank you.
And following up on that, we have an audience question. People 4 member Jean from Hamtramck, Michigan wanted to know what advice you would give to someone who's trying to start over after leaving an abusive work environment like the Trump White House.
You know what? I started over at the Trump White House. What advice? The only advice I can give you is because I left a company that I didn't feel supported me. I've been with them for 20 some odd years. And I was at the point, I said, okay, and I surveyed the situation. I surveyed I saw what was out there. I had to determine if I had the fortitude to keep going. One part, I was like, I don't want to do this again. And I had various job offers. And I went back is because I did nothing wrong. And if I walked away from this business, so I made the lay of land, looked at the value of it. Is it worth me doing this? Honest with myself about a lot of things. And I think anyone who's going through macro and microaggressions on the job, one, take the emotion out of it and put it on the table and look at it for real. Right? What part is the other person playing? Is this enough? Stay, fix? Is it enough for me to say, I'm done? And then either way, you got to see the pros, the cons. You got to weigh it all out. Look at what the future holds in this position or in another position. You can't just promise yourself that you're not going to go through. You have to make sure they're assured if the next job is in your future that these kinds of situations, and they do happen, but you have got to make sure that when you go into a work situation and you're on a winning track, you want to go to a space and make committed to you winning as you are committed to winning. And assess it, because I'm not that person who likes to be in those environments, but that's how I weighed out my situation. I'm working life right now. And after I get off with you, I got to go work again. Weeks. But it's fulfilling. I've the political arm of the GRIO. We're doing groundbreaking stuff. We got a great team, and I did that myself. And it's rewarding. I wait after 20 some years. A lot of people jump around from job to job. I'm that person. Give me stability. I'm there forever. But my life, my mother worked on 2.5 years, and I see it right. Look at those eyebrows jump. That person, if I like it, I'm good. I'll just stay there. But you know what? It stretched me. That jump of faith stretched me. And it was a jump for the better. this would not be here. So sometimes when is it worth it? Can I do it? No, make sure that there's a win-win, as much of a win for you before you jump out into the unknown. So that's recommendation, because I did it myself. I did it myself 2 years. It's in January. It'll be January 4th. I think it'll be 2 years.
Thank you. I know that advice will resonate with a lot of young Black women as well. So you write that Black women have made some great strides recently in the halls of power, right? Including the vice presidency. We're in Congress. We're in leadership at civil rights organizations. You also write that it's also so new, right? That there are unique challenges confronting Black women leaders. You say we are expected to be strong, but not too strong, prominent, but not too prominent. Again, as a young Black woman navigating my career in this space, it's head spinning. How are powerful women navigating that?
And I wrote a book, this last book, about it. You have to survey the land. We have to study. We are intuitive in our ways, in our walk the land, and see how we can comfortably make it through. We get repercussions, or we might not get what we want. It depends what space and how you do it in that space. And that's when you have to really think for your particular dynamic. But this is not dynamic. A lot of us are going through the same thing. A lot of women feel a certain way. I got a code switch. I've got to do certain things to survive and go through a job. I was talking to my 20-year-old. She said, we were talking about, and I think we should be able to walk in so many, because if we are just stuck in one space, you're not going to grow. A code switch. If we got to figure out, navigate, it's not dumbing yourself down to do for your survival. And that's what so many Black women have been doing, doing what we have to do for our survival, meaning quiet on this moment, or if I put out colleague changes and it makes it his or hers, you got to figure out, what is the cost? What is the repercussion if I go and say, wait a minute, I just said that, or you're taking my glory. We have to figure out what the consequences are. One of us is in a different situation. And I say, put that cap of wisdom and figure out, study the landscape. Because some days that's not right. Then other days you say it and it could come back on you. So tough walk. I have so many women who come to me, thank you, same way. I feel heard and seen. And that you're speaking to. How do we navigate to be seen and heard and feel like we are viable in this environment? Going through it, but you have to study your landscape and make the do. I can't say I can't give you a blanket statement that works for you, and what works for you may not work for me, but it requires skill. We were born with skill to be able to navigate. I mean, it's skill to code, mask, and act like everything is fine when other people are taking credit for everything we do to uplift.
It's well said. Well, so speaking of giving credit where credit's due, you know, we people for I got to talk to you about voting rights. I have to ask about this because we were in the. You may remember we were the ones who were outside the White House. We had a coalition of people. We had pastors. We had rabbis. Yeah, we. Did you get in trouble for this? So this is what I was gonna have. So for some of the folks watching were out there with us getting arrested, etc. And the White House really did not want to talk about it. And you pressed Jen Psaki, bless her heart, at the podium. You said, "Look, what's the president going to do? You got folks getting arrested right now. Does the president?"
You couldn't ignore the White House. I was standing out there listening to the music before I had to go into the briefing. Serious, and I was like, "Wow!" It was bold. It was in your face. What? First of all, as a lover of gospel, I was like, okay. I was like, this is in your face. I'm like, they could not help but hear motion outside.
Yes.
So I was like, so what you gonna do? They out there, you know, they said, and when I did, and I said, Martin Luther King III's out there. I said, what you doing? Yeah. We are very aware. and very aware, and you know, we urge people to have peaceful demonstration scenes. It was like I was being called an activist. Activist is now the. I'm like, in this book, because what you guys did made me come to terms with that. See, you didn't know, right? So what happened was we were breaking those stories left and right on voting rights that were happening around that time, trying to push Joe Biden. The people were trying to push Joe Biden, and Melanie Campbell and Congresswoman Joyce Beatty were trying on voting rights. Because I was reporting on it, I was called an activist, and it was used in a pejorative way. It was a pejorative. Activist. Activist. Okay. I was fighting it. I was like, I'm not an activist. I'm a journalist reporting all of this in front of your face. In the way, I'm like, I didn't, and no one else. But here's the deal. I've embraced it because it took Melanie Campbell. Why is everyone calling me an activist? She says, because you. I said, no, I'm not. She said, because it creates us. It creates a movement or people to move. I said, oh. But I wasn't doing it to make that, to create an action. I from the highest office in the land that writes and speaks life. But if God has gifted me to the point where it creates an action from you, so be it. I'm an activist. I listened to my friend Nicole Hannah-Jones, who said something, oh yeah, you're an activist because you can defend it, you can stand up for it or against. So I don't use it in the sense I'm no justice, no peace, but I come from, and my children, my 20-year-old and my 15-year-old, they out there protesting in COVID. No, I am the activist. All of us in a way are activists, but I am writing history and understanding civil rights, that we still don't have. The 1965 Voting Rights Act has been gone. And that pre-clearance would be the South, Georgia, Texas, and all these other places who want to change their voting laws. I need your grandmother in the line who's been in line in early voting for 5 hours. Oh, why? You will go to jail. Pre-clearance, if you were to have pre-clearance with Shelby v. Holder by the Supreme Court, it would mandate the state, well, in this time, that they chose, if we had pre-clearance, and it probably would be a blank nation, the states would have to say what they wanted to do, determine if it was lawful or not, if it took away someone's civil rights. And now, in almost any red state right now that they vote, that's what's happening. They are changing laws, suppress the minority vote.
Yeah. Golly. And I just,
you didn't know all of that going on after you protested. When you went to jail, I was being beat up.
we didn't know, but we sensed because we watched what you did, and it forced. We should say what happened after that is that the president got off the sidelines, right? He was like kind of wishy-washy on will you end the filibuster to press for voting rights, and he did, and he went down to Atlanta and he made a big speech saying that he would support it. And the press, and obviously, we still have a long way to go, but at least we now have the White House on the record saying that they would. And let me just say, Raquel's got the next question, but let me just say, being an activist certainly beats the alternative, right? What does that mean if you are a reporter who is not active? What does that mean, right? So
I'm going to say this: if a reporter doesn't understand the issue and the history of the issue and the current day events out from understanding how it impacts us, and I hate to say this up here playing the game and don't put the stakes on the table. Problem for me. The stakes are, look, what did the man who ran for mayor of New York say? Remember, he was a Black man. He said the rent is too damn high. I said, yeah, the stakes are too. Remember that?
I remember.
Stakes are too damn high. Yeah.
The stakes are too damn high. It's another good book title.
That is another good one.
Too damn high. All right.
That'll be book number 2. But this book, Black Women Will Save the World.
No, this is
it was number 4.
Apologies.
Not take my books away.
That's a good point. And you could find just for those who are just joining us, you can find all 4 of those books and the upcoming 5th book, The Stakes Are Too Damn High from April Ryan.
Love it.
Yes. So Raquel, up next, I think we have some more audience questions.
Yeah, so keeping in line with voting rights, we have an audience question from Angel, a People For member from College Park, Maryland. And Angel would like for you to answer, how can the Black community do better in our voting record as young people still don't see the value voting has for them?
You know why? Because one of the reasons, because it's not as tangible. I interviewed someone. My car was in the shot an Uber, and I don't think the woman knew who I was. And I asked her, I said, it was the day before the election, or it was election day. I said, ma'am, are you going to? No, my mother does. She says, the only way I'll vote, and it's in a story, the only way that I'll vote if I have $1 million in my bank account tomorrow, and I want a business. And she said the banks won't loan her access to capital. Black community is having a problem with. That's tangible. This long, this slow moving Ferris wheel. They want a roller coaster that's going to come back with life. Feel it right now. That's what people want, but it's not like that. And because you get it today doesn't mean it's going to be there tomorrow. Again, voting rights. 1965 voting with it. We're not voting with the full protections of the Voting Rights Act anymore. And now also affirmative at the Supreme Court with these admissions, affirmative actions. And if they roll that back like they did with abortion and everything, it has tentacles into everything. It could even change Brown v. Board from what I'm hearing from legal experts. Things happen like that, it's too late. If you're in the system working, people don't understand that that's what's needed versus right now. I want money in my pocket. I want this. I want that. But it takes those to prevent hurt to a community that's already underserved to be in the system, to convince our young people that it makes a difference. And one of the ways, and it's not just about voting for people. It's about whether community. Question 4 in Maryland, cannabis. You know, it's not just about that. And Kwesi and Fume, Congressman Kwesi, council seat by 3 votes. 3. You would never know who he not won that seat. He won that seat and he became congressman. He's back congressman, filling the seat left vacant by the late Congress. Every vote matters, but we have to get our young people we have to, you know, when I was young, there was something called schoolhouse. I want them to have that, you know. Yes, I'm a bill, only a bill, Capitol Hill. We need a voting. Yes, I'm a vote, only a vote, make you something, something, something. You know, we need something like that to bring people in. You got, and people want something fast. It doesn't happen fast, but we have to meet people who understand how this moves the community. If not today, tomorrow. I'm a proponent of voting. Yeah, I am. I'm a proponent of voting.
The host had me. I love that. I feel like that's a question that I struggle with being in this work, but then thinking about my peers, and I always try to make a tangible local connection for them of why it's important for them to vote. And I'm really proud of the progress I feel like my peers are making in understanding that connection. Segueing a little bit back to more what was in the book, I love your emphasis on nurturing young Black female leadership. As we've said, as director of our youth programs, I'm so proud of our Young Elected Officials Network and our women's program. But I'm invested in development of young leadership talent, but also personally, I'm a mother of a 5-year-old daughter, and I know you're a mother of 2 daughters. So I wanted to hear from you. What do you think? What do we need to do to build leadership in young Black women and girls today, and how can we support them?
By letting them know they're leaders, by letting them know that they matter. I mean, it's just, we have to lift our children up, but also meet them where they are. What is required of them, what's needed, and necessarily do that by saying you're needed. I did every day. They watch the news with me. They listen to the call is Prince. Okay. They love Al Sharpton. My youngest eyes jump up. She is in love with Al Sharpton. She thinks he is Prince, like my version of Prince. I don't know what happened, but they listened. They watched me watching news. They would have those conversations with them. And during COVID, I came face to greatest joy and my greatest fear. Everybody, before the vaccine, was ready to and stand up for Black lives. My children were one. I'm working, and they're like, Mom, I don't care. We're going. I said, no. They were defying me, and I was like, they were not going to not go, and I took off work that day. I said, if you go, you wear a mask. And I said, but they did wear their mask, and they went too far. I said, you're going to get back. I was scared, but they were so convicted, and were teens. My oldest is now 20. My youngest is 15. And George Floyd was, well, 2.5 years ago, convicted in the midst of death, not knowing what predator was doing to our bodies. We didn't have a vaccine because they felt to support another. I am my brother's keeper. No, I am my brother. I am my sister's keeper. I love that. But it was my greatest fear. Now I have a calling, animal loving feminist. I don't know where they got it from, but they're doing it.
I love it. Well, I think they have a pretty great role model. And you mentioned some role models in this book, both historical figures, Congress, current vice president. Who would you say has been your greatest role model? Who have you looked up to?
My mom, 15 years, and I'm still celebrating her. We started 2.5 years on a job. Who does that? And I can go, oh, Miss Ryan, I loved her. She enabled people. She lifted campus. And she was the coordinator for student activities. And those to the people talk about my mother. She's been gone 15 years. She was my greatest shero. That's with you. People like Hazel Dukes in New York. She's amazing. Yes. It's not about our politics. It's about the fact that this system was so $100 million, not $100, not $100, not $100. Well, yeah, $100 million. 100,000, 100 million of his money to beat this super bad chick. Shirley Chisholm, Boston Unbound. I mean, women who understand their who help others. Those are, and I'm going to be honest with you. I bow to every Black woman because they've gone through the strides that they've made and the hopes for tomorrow that sometimes they're helping other people lift up. So all the people that I count said, but I love the underdog. I love the story. And everything has a story. And I love the stories. I'm a lover of every woman, every Black woman, but particularly every Black woman. Because if you listen to stories, it's like, wow. Okay. Ida B. Wells. I've got her book too. Hold on. Ida B. Wells.
I love it. This has been so great. Honestly, I wish and yes.
I love it.
Yes. Overdue.
You come in my office, you see me raise up. Not a joke. This is who I am. I'm waiting for this to come out. This is my fake office. So
I love it. And I love especially all the girls and women who are pulling off their Harriet Tubman and their Ida B. Wells and now their April Ryan books off the shelf. Mm-hmm. Particularly this one, Black Women Will Save the World. We had more audience questions. We would need way more time. Yeah, look at all the notes, Mikkel. We would need way more time to get to them all. But you also got to go. So I got to let you go. I want to say this has been a great conversation. This is a huge opportunity for those listening to learn how they can commit to supporting Black women and girls who are the backbone of our democracy in so many ways. Here at People for the American Way, as Raquel mentioned, we're investing in training these young women leaders. including many young Black women through our Jordan Huerta Women's Leadership Program. So for all of our members on the call today who would like to support the program, I invite you to. You can find out more information by going to our website. Join us at pfaw.org/sign-up and do that. But don't do that without also buying April Ryan's book, Black Women Will Save the World. Follow Raquel Jones, who's one of those Black women who's saving the world, leading our leadership programs. Thank you, April Ryan, for joining us. Thank you for all of your great and hard work.
And I'm so sorry I was tardy for the party. The work calls, but we had a good time talking, and we could talk.
We had a good, of course, and we'll do it again. When book number 5 comes out, we will do it again.
Yes, what's book number?
What did we say we were going to go?
Stakes are too damn high.
Stakes are too damn high.